This is chaparral yucca, found places other than in the chaparral. Hespero yucca whipplei, member of the lily family. Lots of lily flowers. We'll look at these up close. The pollination of this plant is a legend. It is pollinated at night by a little yucca moth. The moth has mouth parts that are not designed for feeding. The mouth parts are designed for hauling a glob of yucca pollen from one flower to another. Takes that pollen, parks it in the stigma, the receiving portion of the flower. Pollination is assured. After that process, the female yucca moth goes down to the base of the plant, into the ovary, lays eggs. So after a while, this plant will produce the seeds for the future of the yucca plant and the future of the yucca moth as well, because the caterpillars will feed on the seeds, drop to the ground, become a pupa, ultimately emerge as adults, repeat that cycle year after year. So pollination of the yucca plant by the yucca moth, an interesting saga here in the desert. Here's a beautiful yucca flower. Has 3 sepals on the outside, 3 petals on the inside. They all look the same. So you have 6 structures that protect the inner parts of the flower. Attached to each petaloid structure is a stamen. So there's the stamen attached to that petal. The stamen is the structure that produces the pollen. So this long bulbous filament has an anther on the top which produces pollen. That's where the yucca moth collects pollen to transport to the stigma, this green structure of another flower. So let's take off each stamen so we can see the female part of the flower, the green stigma. This white structure at the base is the ovary. The ovary, when it ripens, becomes the fruit. So let's cut through. You can see the inner structures of the ovary. When it matures into a fruit, there will be 3 little chambers in there with 2 other rows of seeds. It will mature and be ready to produce seeds next year. Those are the seeds that are also eaten by the yucca moth. Okay, this is the dry fruit of last year's yucca plant. You can see it's got 3 chambers. Each of the 3 chambers has a chamber within filled with seeds. These seeds were munched on by the yucca moth, but enough are left so you can see that they will be able to land on the desert floor with the proper conditions and germinate to produce a new yucca plant. We can see in this little row of seeds a hole, probably burrowed by a caterpillar of the yucca moth, that shared these seeds last year. These seeds will perpetuate the species of 2 organisms, the yucca moth and the yucca plant.